Hello, this is an introduction to week 5 of the course, Intro to Methods and Arrays. Looking at our syllabus here, you can see that we will go into deeper dives into arrays and methods in subsequent weeks. I was counting up arrays next week, methods and the following 2 weeks after that. So about a month's worth of discussion on methods and arrays here. So today's discussion will be fairly introductory and generic, and just trying to get you the look and feel of how it all works. Having said that, there are some discussions in object-oriented programming next week that will play into this, so I'm just going to kind of leave it open-ended. Say, this is how the syntax looks. We'll get into more of what's happening next week. I open IntelliJ, and I look here at an example right here that I've already constructed to kind of help us guide us through. Okay, method. Okay, so let's just talk about, let's say I'm adding two numbers and I'm printing that out to the screen. I'm going to uncomment that. I'm going to run this. And that should give me the sum after I added two numbers is colon space 3. And there it is. It worked. So that's easy enough. If that's all I have to do, this is fine. But what happens if I need to repeat this logic over and over again, some varying amount of times? 100 times, 1,000 times, twice, maybe once. It just depends on how I feel that certain day, how many times I want to do it. Well, if I come in here and I've done it once today and tomorrow I want to do it 1,000 times, well, it starts to get unwieldy. It starts to get tedious. Lots of copying and pasting. And I gotta believe you've copied and pasted something that didn't turn out like you wanted to in some time in your life. On an email, in a Word document, the syntax blew up, or you left a piece of the sentence out, or you just any of a number of scenarios. Copying and pasting is a very error-prone operation. And it is in programming too. Okay, so one thing that could happen, so okay, let's just say I want to do this right here. Okay, this is easy enough. I print this. Now I should get 2 lines down here. Three and 25 is what we expected. Okay, but what could happen with a copy and a paste? So if I copied, I say, let's say this line didn't exist. Okay, and I say, oh yeah, I need to add a print statement in. I'm going to copy this guy. So I copy it. I paste it, and I run, and I say, okay, it's going to work. And of course, when I print it, it doesn't quite work like I wanted. The answer to both is not 3, and the reason is because this is a valid statement from a syntax standpoint, but it did not do what I wanted because I forgot to change this C to a Z. Okay. So imagine doing that 100 times and just how tedious that would be to get it all right. Then imagine the person I'm doing this for comes in and says, hey, I don't really like what you said here. That's kind of a weird way to say it. How about just say the sum is? Okay, that's fine. But then I have to do it here too. And again, what if I had it 100 times in here? Tedious. It's harder to read. Okay, I don't know, or the next person that takes up this code doesn't necessarily know how many times I've done that. So it's a maintenance issue. It's a testing issue. It just becomes an issue from that standpoint where it's harder to make it work as it scales out and it gets bigger. So what we can do is we can try to take this logic here, you know, the creating the sum, the printing to the screen, and we can try to do that just one time. so that no matter how many times I call it, my core logic of my program is only written once. And we do that with a method. Now I'll go ahead and say there's some parts of a method. Here's a method right here. There's some parts of this method that we're not getting into in this discussion. The public piece, the void piece, okay? What some of the vocabulary terms in and around these two integers are. Okay, I'm delaying that until our deeper discussion. But I just want you to see how the look and feel works. Now another thing I mentioned, objects. We're not discussing object-oriented programming here, but even so, I have an object on the screen, and I don't know what the best way to tell you is just to say, hey, trust me on the syntax here for just a week, and then we'll get a little deeper into what's actually going on. Okay. So this is my object here, and all you need to do, of course, this isn't me giving you. So look at this line first. I have my class name here, my methods. I have a name here of my object, methods, and then a new, and then that class name, my methods again. And the reason I had this line in here was just to say, you can see string, the name of your string, and then new string. So something we've done before. You can see how it kind of is pretty parallel here. Okay. So whatever you end up naming your class, put that here, and put that here, and give your object a name. Think of it as a variable. If you, in the same type, that we might have said int, my int equals 6, something like that. Okay, this methods and that my int, you can kind of see it's the name. This is the name of the integer. This is the name of the object. Okay. And then down here, you can kind of see as an extension of that object, I'm going to call that method by using this dot. And then I can pass values in. I'm not quite going to get to that one yet. So here I'm going to say, get this set up to where I wanted it. Here I'm going to say I'm going to pass in this 10 and this 15. Now again, this is an IntelliJ feature. But when I say 10 and 15, IntelliJ kind of gives you that hint here what A and B. I don't type that in, IntelliJ gives that to you. Okay. So I put 10 and 15 in here. Okay, so it passes 10 and 15 in here, and this A and this B are right here, and I create an integer C that's the sum. And then I print them out using this system.out.format. I will put a document in Canvas that details how to use this. Okay, so I'm going to print this. And the sum is 25 like we expect. If I go down here, if this becomes something that you're not comfortable with today, alternatively I give you another option using string concatenation. And I'll also have a document in Canvas on string concatenation. And as you can see right here, they both give exactly the same answer. Right. So if I can come up here and I can add another one in here, methods, add to 1 and 2. I can do methods add to 100. 1587. Okay. Print them. Of course, you're going to get 6 statements because they have two prints here, but you should get the idea. Yep. What's going on? Let's say the whoever I'm doing this for doesn't like the article the there, and they just want some. Well, if I had this up here, I would have had to gone through and changed several of these print statements. But now I can just come in here and say this sum And when I print it, by changing just that one line, it applied globally to my add two numbers logic. So hopefully you can start to see how this type of strategy, using a method instead of repeating the same logic over and over, using this method is kind of a winning strategy for us, because it reduces the amount of lines we have to type, it cuts down on copying and pasting, and it makes maintenance a whole lot easier. And it also allows us now to call add to however many times we want in a much more controlled fashion. In your weekly assignments in your lab, you're going to have, I'm going to have you do this, but multiplying two numbers. So hopefully you can extend what I've done here and go to multiplying. And in a challenge exercise that you're welcome to try, I'm going to have you take in from the user how many times they want to add two numbers together. And then so you could say, hey, I want to add two numbers together 10 times, and the computer would prompt you to give you two numbers 10 times to get a sum 10 times. Or 2 or 10 or 15 or however many times you want to. But as your challenge exercise, that's going to be, you're going to take in that number from the user. If you have any questions, feel free to post in Canvas on the discussion board or send me a private message. Thank you.